Alright, so now we have a little bit of a tidbit of just video kind of showing you a few things you might want to know hazard-wise about, and just generally organizing-wise about going from the heating process of our. Now this takes place in the first half of the lab, where we are going to be looking to gather the concentration of our unknown, which is an permanganate solution. My permanganate solution is located right there, and I want to test it. So a couple of things I just mentioned gets one. We always do multiple trials in a row. So how does this hot plate work? Well, first of all, when I turn it on, okay, make sure I'm turning on the heater, not the stir plate. That's a stir. This is the heater. Okay. Now this thing here is a bit like a freight train. Okay. So I'd probably turn it up to 7, 8, 9, and it's going to get real hot real fast. So one thing I mentioned, I don't have any liquids in these guys, but I have everything in there ready to go. And I see quite often a thermometer hanging out the top of this thing. And I always got to tell kids, okay, this here is just an exercise in something being spilled. Okay, so just a quick heads up that while it's heating, you can just measure your temperatures, okay, and then take them off. We're trying to get to a certain temperature. I think it's like 70 degrees. If you get to that point and it gets too hot and you're not ready yet, then just take your particular guy off and set him down, on the side here. Okay, it's not going to affect things too much, and you could easily, even if it's that warm, you'll see some steam come top. You can easily just pick them up and grab them from the top. No big deal. Okay. All right. So while that thing's heating on there, you got to be organized and know what you're doing. This particular setup is my burette. Okay, a couple things I noticed about my burette. One, it's being stored right now. It's upside down and the valve is open. Okay, so that's really important as you leave, because stuff dries, and if you ever wonder why your particular pipette won't drain, it's because stuff dried in the end. So just so you know, make sure you write down, or make sure you use consistently the same bottle. There's typically be a small jar next to it where you can pour into. And while this thing is heating, get this thing filled up. It's not uncommon for me to see people just standing around watching their stuff heat and nothing is ready. So make sure you're doing that. Also, one more thing about the titration. You have in your workbook a data table. One small thing we're trying to avoid, this just happens to be our current version. It changes all the time, but you'll note that we have lots of stuff here. I got trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, the masses. We really want to avoid going to the scale and writing a number on the tops or around places. Or a kid will say, oh, my partner's got that number. That's no excuse. You have your numbers, and they have a spot where they go. All right? Start, finish, change. This is the burette volume on here. So make sure you know how this thing works, okay? This is the trial to be able to figure out the change in permanganate, and then eventually the concentration of the permanganate, okay? So be aware how the titration works. Thank you very much.